Everybody knows, first comes love, then comes marriage, and then comes your budget in a baby carriage. Obviously, that's not true. Let's walk through the 4 things that my wife and I did right after we got married, or maybe shortly after we got married. Because the first thing that you do after you get married is not done in a spreadsheet. Your whole life, you've probably managed your money by yourself. And now you have this other person who's gonna be making decisions about what you do with your money. And that's gonna feel really uncomfortable.
No, God! No, God, please, no!
And it's also a reason why money creates so much conflict in marriages and is one of the top reasons that people end up getting divorced. And so the last thing that you wanna do is get married and wait until there's a problem to start thinking about what you should do with your money. You wanna be proactive about it. And so these are gonna be the 4 things that allow you to actually be proactive with your money. But you wanna make sure that your partner is involved in this. So bring them into the conversation and make sure that they're watching this video with you. Okay, the first thing that we did, I might lose you right out of the gates here. We combined bank accounts. Yeah, that's right. I took my checking account, my wife's checking account, and then made it into one checking account.
You're crazy, man. You're crazy.
Yes, it was a little bit of work, but let me walk you through why I felt like that was an important step and why my wife was down to do it. You're covering a lot of different expenses, groceries, mortgage, whatever. The last thing that I wanted to be doing was Venmo requesting my wife or having her Venmo request me. And maybe you're in a relationship where one of you just pays all of the bills and that works for you. But for us, we were splitting a lot of these expenses anyways. And so it just made more sense that it was just coming out of one bank account. I also felt like this allowed us to really view our money as our money, because whenever we were using a debit card to purchase something, it was coming out of our account. It wasn't, oh, you're using your debit card and I'm using my debit card. Or, hey, I'm gonna get lunch this time and you can get lunch next time. It was just, hey, you have your card with you, why don't you just pay for it? And if that didn't sell you enough, a mathematical reason for doing it is typically people actually will keep more in their checking account if they each keep their checking accounts separately. Maybe this isn't a problem for you, but for us, we were keeping $15,000 to $20,000 in each of our checking accounts, which meant that we were just sitting on $30,000 to $40,000 in cash. Now, when we combined bank accounts, we kept doing that. We had $15,000 to $20,000 in our checking account. So that way, whenever we need to pay bills or if we have a big expense coming up, we can just pay for it. But that means that we now have an additional $15,000 to $20,000 that's being invested. It might not be $15,000 or $20,000 for you, but really consider how much do you and your partner each have in your bank account? And if you combine those bank accounts, would you still keep that much in a checking account, or would you invest some of that money? Okay, the second thing that we did was we got aligned on what we wanted our retirement to look like, when we wanted to do it, how much money we wanted to have, what that lifestyle was gonna look like.
We'll probably sit around and cook some soups and just get all fat and sassy.
And honestly, this can be a really fun conversation. I know a lot of times talking about money is not fun, but hopefully thinking about your future life together, your golden years, maybe even what life could look like in 5 or 10 years is actually a really enjoyable experience. Try not to get bogged down by, oh, this person wants to spend $1,000 a month on this random thing, and instead just dream really big, because being able to figure out what those numbers are is gonna help you guys also understand, well, how much should we be investing every single month? Or where should we be investing that money? Maybe you want to retire early and so your goal is to have cash flow coming in. Maybe you don't care about retiring early, but you just want to have a really big nest egg. And that means that you should be investing your money in a very different way. But regardless, having this conversation is going to help you guys drive alignment to how you manage your budget, how you spend your money, how you invest your money, and hopefully make you guys feel really optimistic about your future together.
What? Did we just become best friends?
Yep.
Which leads me into the third point, and that's you want to make a shared budget. So hopefully now you have combined accounts and you have combined goals, which should actually make this step really straightforward because everything is coming out of the same account anyways. You're not splitting and choosing who's going to pay for what. You're really just getting alignment on what are our bills, what are our expenses, and where are our priorities at? And the reason why I suggested doing the retirement planning conversation first is because this can be one of the more tougher conversations. One of you might love to go buy that $5, $6 latte, and one of you might love going out and being super social with your friends. Whatever it is, it's important to know what your long-term goals are as you factor in what this budget is, because maybe you guys can do both of those things and still hit those retirement goals. Maybe you need to choose to pick one thing that you cut because you need to work towards those goals. And so I don't think that those two steps should be done separately, but I do think that you should focus on the retirement planning conversation first, because I think it'll make this shared budget conversation a little bit easier, especially if you're working on getting out of debt together, which I just want to call out. If one of you has debt, it is now both of your debts, because it's not her money and your money, it's both of your money, which means that Part of that shared budget should include a strategy where you're working together to pay off debt, not a strategy where one of you is focusing on finishing off paying your student loans. This is something that you do together. Now, the last thing that I would say is really, really important is to just consider getting term life insurance. Term life insurance just means that you are paying for a policy in the event that something happens to you, like death, that your spouse is covered. Typically, you would select 10x your income as coverage because that means that your partner will have 10 years to figure out a way to get their life back on track. That gives them time to grieve versus figuring out a way to pay off the bills. I believe as soon as there's someone that is depending on your income, it's really important to get a replacement for your income if something happens. That doesn't mean that you should go out and sign up for whole life insurance. That is a very different, whole separate thing. It's looked at as more of an investment vehicle. In my opinion, not a great investment vehicle, but oftentimes people confuse whole life insurance with term life insurance. Typically, what you're gonna do is when you get term life insurance, you're gonna select the term, a 20 or 30-year policy, and oftentimes this is gonna come out to anywhere between $20 and $60 depending on your age. Whereas something like whole life would stick with you for your whole life, but the monthly payments are gonna be north of $400, $500, maybe even more depending on what your policy coverage is. My wife and I personally use Ethos. This is not sponsored by them at all, but I've included a link in the description. And the reason why I really like them is because you don't need to go see a doctor. It takes like 10 minutes to sign up with them online. And basically they're a broker. So they're actually looking across multiple vendors to figure out the right policy for you. So you end up actually getting a pretty great price. So those are the 4 things that we did. And I just want to really drive home the importance of doing this. We form money habits and money perceptions at the age of 5 years old. And so that means even if you've been together for a period of time, there's just certain ways, maybe even traumas that we have with money or certain expectations that we have. And so the ultimate goal here in doing these 4 things is just to drive alignment with your partner and work through money together, because it's gonna take work to get aligned on it. It's not something that's gonna come supernatural and super easily, just like other aspects of marriage don't always come supernatural and easy as well. These are the things that work for my wife and I, which means that it's 100% gonna work for you. Just kidding, it might not. But again, you want to be able to discuss this with your partner. And the one thing that I would say you and I do have in common is that we should be aligning with our partner on all these money decisions. Comment below what has worked for you being in a new marriage or a seasoned marriage when it comes to figuring out your finances together. We all could use some tips for being a better partner, and we're always looking to hear what other people have done successfully.